going to cover quickly about CISM Domain 1, what kind of a role that it plays, and what is the role of governance, why is it the backbone of information security. And one of the most important elements of why governance exists, it is basically the gap, basically it's a bridge between information security and the business. So it helps align the business goals, or rather it helps information security align with the business goals. And we'll just quickly look at the role that in security governance can play in the age of AI threats. And there are a few examples that we would look at in terms of governance, with governance and without governance. Uh, our training institutes coverage of CISM, in case if you are looking for CISM training for those who have not completed CISM certification. And we will then move to the Q&A, the live Q&A. Okay, a quick introduction. What with respect to CISM Domain 1, right? It focuses on information security governance, one of the four domains as per the isaca's CISM course content. Uh, it covers about 17% of the overall weightage. The main objective of information security governance is basically to make sure that we are able to align information security with the business goals, to make sure that we take care of, or we help business achieve compliance, cover legal and regulatory requirements, and to ensure that the overall organizations and or enterprises risks are effectively managed. Right? The core components of this objective, right, is to make sure that there is a strategy. What exactly is a security strategy? Security strategy is basically a tool which would help information security, number one, align with the business goals, and number two, make sure that it delivers to ensure that uh, business objectives are achieved. I mean, how is it that business objectives are achieved? Like, for example, if the business objective is to, let's say, increase the sales or revenue growth by 20%, right? So, is it a direct? Is it basically a direct contribution or indirect contribution? Now, I would say that depending on the nature of the business that the enterprise is into, predominantly it would be indirect. So if let's say that it is a retail customer, right? You're talking about 20% of revenue growth, and let's say it's a e-commerce retail, right? Then making sure that the website is up and running, the triad of confidentiality, integrity, and availability. If you folks understand that bit, uh, then you'd be able to understand what we're talking about from a business perspective. Uh, Making sure that the confidentiality, I mean the privacy of customer information is there, making sure that the transactions which every customer who lands onto the e-commerce site, it is secure and the site is up and running. And that's primarily about the technology side of the information, that or information security and that particular business that we're talking about. So when we're talking about this element of the business, what governance would help us ensure, or governance would help us, is forming a strategy so that the business can achieve this goal in a secure way, right? And then in that particular process, making sure that there is a very clear definition of roles and responsibilities, who will do what. I mean, not just from that particular e-commerce website per se, but then across the enterprise, right? And then ensure regulatory compliance, right? Depending on, again, what is the nature of the business that we're talking about. It ensures regulatory compliance. If you are a, let's say a healthcare services provider, and primarily based out of the US, then if you're looking at a HIPAA regulation, or if you are talking about uh, a business, any business which deals with any kind of a personal information across Europe, or if you are a company which is based out in India, but then uh, catering to or servicing, providing services to a customer, or your customer who is based out of Europe. So depending on the nature of a business that you are in, there are different types of regulatory requirements that your enterprise will have to comply to. And information security basically takes those requirements into account. I mean, especially governance will take those requirements into account and make sure that you achieve converting them into risks, and looking at it from a risk perspective, and ensuring that the business basically complies to that, right? And it also ensures that all of these aspects are measured, they are monitored regularly with the help of metrics. So it is governance which ensures that there is a structure which is put around this, so that you can measure these things effectively, right? And why it matters? Because governance enables the uh, basically it's the foundation of effective security management. It makes sure that it enables the leadership to ensure that they protect their critical assets across the enterprise. Now, I just mentioned that as far as information security from a CISM perspective, there are four domains, and governance basically has 70% of weightage. And if you would like to just look at it, we're talking about uh, all the four domains, and this is basically the weightage. While from a weightage perspective, governments might look like the least. However, governance basically sets the pace, sets the direction, right? Basis which everything else is formed. That's why, though it is from an examination perspective, uh, and from a certification point of view, while it might be seen that it is the least in terms of weightage, this is basically what drives information security across the enterprise. Okay, so why is it backbone, right? Because, as I just mentioned, governance basically sets the objectives, sets the direction for the entire organization from an information security perspective. So when you look at information security governance standpoint, so what exactly does it do? Uh, as I mentioned, from a strategic direction perspective, takes the business goals and business objectives, makes it and converts them, helps to convert all of those into information security objectives. Where is it that we can basically contribute? Uh, make sure that there is a risk-based approach, right? Just because there is a requirement, you don't really have to jump in and then start complying to those requirements by default. You can uh, you can basically take a risk-based approach. If there is a risk to business, only then you comply to it. Else, you can always ignore it, ignore those requirements, and that is where governance focuses on value delivery and optimizing resources. So when you are looking at in the larger scheme of things at an enterprise level, the the cost, the people, and the technology resources, these three elements are scarce, right? And especially when you look at it, whether it is IT or information security, across majority of the organizations, unless and until you are in the business of IT or information security, uh, you are an enabling function, right? So you are helping the business to make money. So in that pursuit, the only way that you can provide the uh, confidence to the senior management within the enterprise that yes, things are fine, and the way they are aligned to the business goals is by making sure that you are using, uh, you're optimizing the resources which are used across the enterprise very, very judiciously, right? And when you speak about, especially when you speak about value delivery, right? Uh, it is what we're talking about is uh, enterprise basically is realizing the benefits at a very, very optimal resource cost, and at the same time, without compromising on risk management. So you are optimizing risk, you are keeping the risk at an acceptable level, and at the same time making sure that you are realizing the benefits that are required. And when we say benefits, these benefits can vary based on, from enterprise to enterprise, right? In certain enterprises it could be increased profit, in certain companies it could be better customer experience, right? And at the end of the day, it is all at a stakeholder level, right? So whatever stakeholders that you have, whatever internal business or customers that you have, uh, the basis their perception is where you're talking about your value delivery. And the best way to ensure that you are making sure that you're showing that as a picture is by making sure you are measuring that particular performance. So so how is it that you are giving, or you're showing to your management that yes, you are going in the right direction. Yes, the risk is within the acceptable level. Yes, there is a value delivery. And yes, there is resource optimization. That is with the help of metrics that by measuring performance, right? By showing that as part of, maybe, for a lack of better word, showing that as part of a dashboard, right? And making sure that each of the areas that you're measuring, it is always showing an alignment to the organization's objectives, and it's showing that yes, you are achieving the enterprise's objectives, right? You're helping them in that, right? And finally, it's not always about just the chest thumping, right? That yes, this is something that I have decided, this is a metric that I have introduced, and I am the one who's measuring it. And so I am both maker as well as the checker, right? As far as when you're looking at risk management, value delivery, resource optimization, performance measurement, all of these things, right? They are all sort of designed by governments with the help of information security management. So making sure that the senior management in the enterprise, in the organization, they are confident that yes, whatever that you're delivering, at the same time, whatever that you're showing, it is correct. And to give an additional assurance to them by making sure that you integrate very well with different audit functions, whether it is internal or external, right? And then by going with certain external certifications, there too, of course, you would be audited. It could be ISO 27001. So when you are integrating your processes with those uh, multiple assurance functions, it gives additional assurance and that confidence to the senior management that yes, we are in the right path. And why is it that I'm telling the right path? Because information security is basically a journey as far as the enterprise is concerned, right? So, it's not something which you start today and, then it's not like a project. You start today and you end tomorrow, right? So when you are looking at all of these things, it's a continual journey. And that's where, when you are putting in an information security strategy, uh, with the help of all these six elements, and by making sure that you have a very clearly defined roles and responsibilities, you will be able to uh, showcase to the senior management that yes, it's not only that I am safeguarding the environment, but also giving them the confidence on paper, not just on the practicality. Sometimes practically you might be doing a thousand other things very effectively, but as they say, seeing is believing. So it gives them that confidence that yes, we are on the right path. And if you do not have governance, then uh, everything else basically becomes reactive, because security in in an environment where there is no governance, as I said, governance basically sets the direction, right? So in an environment where there is no governance, then everything becomes reactive. And because there is no proper planning and there is no strategy, there is no proper approach, things would become costlier, right? Uh, they would not be aligned. The business would want to do something and you end up doing something else, right? And of course, we are living in an increasingly more digital world. There are very few organizations where, I mean, there are very, very few organizations where things still run on paper, right? So as you uh, become more and more digital, then you are also attracting more and more vulnerabilities and different type of threats. So if you do not manage those vulnerabilities well, then obviously the threat to your enterprise IT environment would also be increasing. So again, from a governance perspective, setting the direction, making sure that there is a method to uh, that management of vulnerabilities. So that's why governance is basically the backbone, because it sets the direction. Okay. Now, we've spoken a couple of times in terms of aligning information security with business goals, right? So, what exactly is that, and how do we achieve it? Okay, so first and foremost thing when we speak about uh, aligning information security with business goals, effectively what we're talking about is, first of all, we have to understand what the business goal is. And I would like to just take the example of that e-commerce retail, right? And maybe that example would help you understand this better. Okay. So as I said, right, the business goal is basically to uh, increase the overall revenue by 20%. And if you really want to look at it, then basically you're talking about more and more customers coming in, right? So that's where, if you would like to understand it in depth, you have to collaborate with all your stakeholders to identify what the priority is, right? The priority is to basically make sure that you build trust, make sure the platform is secure, right? And make sure that uh, it can handle that kind of an additional footfall, right? So if you are looking at it from for this particular business, then you will have to look at uh, additional stakeholder collaboration, right? So you're talking about speaking with, let's say, marketing team, IT team, your this particular company's executive teams. So how is it that we can gain customer trust, right? Or how is it that we can gain trust from our suppliers and vendors? Okay, so through stakeholder collaboration, you basically get that, and then you will have to start tailoring from an information security perspective strategies, right? So what is it when we speak about strategies, right? For example, from a transaction security perspective, right? Make sure that there is a very strong encryption that you are, enabling, right? Maybe TLS 1.3 that you have enabled to make sure that the customer transaction and the data storage, etc., they're all properly secure. The data is secure, right? Uh, or it could be translating into, maybe even for customers, right? There is a two-factor authentication that you have actually enforced. Okay. uh, or again, from a privacy of information perspective, because you are capturing a lot of information, customer's address, telephone number, etc. So there should be a proper privacy policy basis which you are able to uh, safeguard the personally identifiable information, right? And now you've sort of understood each of these areas, and then you assign roles and responsibilities accordingly. You know, there could be a DPO assigned by the senior management, but from your end, what is it that within your team and within your stakeholders within the organization, it could be marketing, could be operations, could be IT, etc. Right? You're actually assigning roles and responsibilities, making sure that everybody uh, performs their role correct. There is no conflict of interest. There is proper segregation. All, right from the kind of uh, information that each of these can view, the information that about a customer's data, for example, right? Only a few people within the operations team who are dealing with customers directly, only they can see, and that too only very little bit of information. They, if the customer has saved a credit card, right, that information remains encrypted, but it is not visible, right? So things like that. Okay, and how do you basically uh, measure the metrics, both in terms of the security as well as in terms of from a business goal perspective, the satisfaction score uh, from a customer standpoint, right? Are there any technology incidents? Are there any breaches from? Is there any account data which is actually breached, right? Uh, and if you have gone ahead with some kind of a framework, right? Something like, let's say, ISO 27001 certification, then the compliance to the different controls within that particular certification, and then you being certified to that itself. So as a result, and then in the process, you are also speaking with the leadership to ensure that you are getting the right kind of buy-in and right kind of resource support. And if you actually look at it from this alignment perspective, when you are dealing and liaising with so many internal teams, and also making sure that you are developing and tailoring the overall information security strategy, when you are doing all of this stuff, all of these activities, when you have the in parallel, when you are starting to engage the leadership, and when you are working towards gaining their support, only then obviously you can garner that kind of a success. Otherwise, if your leadership support is not there, you will not get you will not be able to ensure that each of these businesses or each of these teams, they are speaking with each other well. It's the senior management which who can basically liaise that, and they can help you with that. uh, of course, cost is another element that they can help you with, right? So that's where the leadership element comes in, and that's where it helps. So with the help of that particular example that I quoted, right? So if you look at it, the benefits of applying information security governance and making sure that when you are the information security governance forces you to align information security with the business goals, thereby the benefits, like there is an enhanced trust, of course, within the company, directly with the customer, and obviously the few areas that we spoke about, where we're talking about optimizing resources use, reducing cost, making sure that there is compliance to regulations which are applicable, like GDPR, HIPAA, etc. Right? So these are the benefits. And when we speak about alignment with, sorry, just a second, please. So when we speak about alignment with business goals with the help of different types of governance frameworks, right? Is that something that you have to invent, or is there help available to you? Of course, there is help available to you. There is a multiple frameworks which are there, right? You have got ISO 27001, you've got NIST, you have COBIT, right? And if you are looking at it from very focused and different types of architecture frameworks, you have got SAPSA, for example. So and each of these provide you with their own uh, benefits. Like if you look at it, NIST CSF, it's a cybersecurity risk management related framework. ISO 27001, it covers uh, overall information security management. COVID gives you IT governance and management related framework. Uh, of course, you could even consider using parts of ITIL, which gives you IT service management related, right? When you can actually borrow a few things from a control perspective. Okay. Okay. So moving on to the next topic, all that is good from age-old digital environment, but we are living in a new age, from which is with AI is currently ruling the roost, and there are many threats, all the way from if you are into developing AI models, or if you are not, even if you're a regular business, there are different threats. I've just only put a few in terms of data poisoning or adversarial attacks, model theft, bias exploitation. These are few areas which are core to AI. And of course, with the help of AI, then the number of threats basically multiplies. Different types of threats we have, right? I mean, of course, all the way from AI helping uh, threat actors with respect to coming up with uh, very much sophisticated methods of uh, conducting phishing campaigns, for example, right? The content for phishing, right? Does it mean that you just type in the prompt and then it obviously gives you everything? Definitely not. But then, of course, there are AI models even on the dark web which basically help you do that, right? So as AI is evolving, governance is becoming more and more challenging, right? Two things. One part is from a regulation perspective, and second thing, in terms of the technology perspective, right? And of course, in between you have people's knowledge, right? Uh, I mean, yes, there is a requirement for a lot of skilled people, and we are not having, rather, we don't really have the time to move at a pace where it is really required, because the technology, I mean, just think about it. It's what, 2 years ago, 2023, if I remember correctly, right? And within a month, ChatGPT went from somewhere to somewhere, right? And it was the best model which was available, all the way from from the time that it was introduced. The uh, the first people to get onto it included a few threat actors, and of course there was a lot of news where uh, a lot of malware was actually developed with the help of ChatGPT, right? Or at least with the help of these kind of models. Okay, so now you have Copilot, you've got Gemini, you've got DeepSeek, and these are competing with each other. And as we speak, literally, now we're talking about 2 years, and there is a lot of data which is pumped into it, and the AI is much better today, evolving, and all the way from, I mean, earlier it was just limited to text. Now it has come to images, to videos, to pretty much everything, right? So with at that rapid pace when things are evolving, how is it that you can safeguard, and where exactly governance basically come into that, especially in a scenario where the technology is evolving and there is, like,
literally no AI specific regulation, no AI specific law to prevent you, to hold the threat actors accountable, that you actually used AI to, cause damage to me, right? And the only thing where governance can help you with is number one, making sure that you have your policies updated, where apart from standard risk assessments, you have got AI based risk assessments which are introduced into your AI frameworks. And when you are looking at different types of controls, make sure that as part of your risk assessment and you are linking it with your controls, making sure that the controls have some amount of moderation on the models which are used, and most importantly, you are training. Now, so far, there are, organizations spend a lot of time and effort and money on training the staff on, things about phishing, things about fraud, things about risk. Now, organizations will have to evolve in terms of making sure that they update their training content in the area of AI also, and AI specific threats also, especially the cyber workforce, the folks who are trying to basically defend against any kind of threats, right? There's a lot of adversarial AI which is already there in the market, right? In terms of the different types of, as I said, frameworks which are available, uh, today there is no one framework which basically you're able to uh, comply, or you'll be able to have all the requirements fulfilled. If you look at it, NIST, it only uh, partial in terms of AI governance compatibility or AI governance availability. uh, Basically you have NIST artificial intelligence risk management framework, right? However, it does not have AI controls list, explicit controls, right? If you look at ISO 27001, then it is, you do have 42001. However, ISO 42001. However, it is very limited, uh, where you require basically customization. You have to customize for AI, right? Same is the case with COBIT. There is no AI specific control, so you will have to become a little bit more creative in designing things according to your organization, according to your enterprise needs. So here are a few examples, real world governance wins and pitfalls. A couple of organizations who actually benefited with the help of AI, and a couple of organizations where, sorry, with the help of information security governance, and a couple of organizations where they did not have a proper governance in place, and it led to multiple issues. So one was a retail giant, and second one is a healthcare provider who benefited immensely. So there are two different frameworks that I spoke about. One is COBIT, the other one, a healthcare provider implemented ISO 27001, and they benefited immensely with that. And of course, given this is a public forum, I did not want to deliberately use a specific company's name without, of course, their permission, especially when we're talking about pitfalls. So there is a tech startup where they had a data breach costing approximately $2 million, and it was found later that they did not have proper policies, procedures, any metrics, basically no governance whatsoever. Same is the case with a financial firm. Uh, they were completely focused on compliance. They did not look at a comprehensive risk management framework and information security governance framework, where they ignored a lot of artificial intelligence related threats, and that resulted in model exploitation, right? So it's not just that, and the example of this financial firm, the reason why I placed it here is because uh, this is one classic part where they might say that, okay, don't say that, we don't have a governance model. Okay, we take our compliance to regulatory requirements very seriously, but then agreed that you are doing it, but if you do it without evolving, without keeping abreast with the evolving technology, the latest technology and latest threats, then there is no use, right? So by saying that you have a governance framework and that framework is not including you to evolve, but that is not forcing you to evolve, then that's not really having a governance framework, right? That is having some process in place for the sake of having it. Okay, so that's what from a real world governance examples, this is what uh, I've I was able to formulate and I was able to put it here. Um, just a second. Let me quickly cover a few question and answers or FAQs in terms of uh, balancing governance with innovation, and then I would go to infosec trains edge. Why is it that we would recommend everyone to explore our training courses, especially from a CISM perspective, right? So to start with the first frequently asked question, how do we balance governance with innovation? So why is that question comes in? Because people think that, okay, governance is very rigid, right? Governance is very structured. It's not agile, right? It's very waterfally in nature, right? It's generally not the case. We do have agile governance frameworks as well, like SAPSA, right? Where there is a lot of dynamic aspects that can be basically brought in, which can support innovation. So you don't really have to be rigid, right? You have number of frameworks which can help you be fluid, not rigid, right? So that's not true. That okay, if you have proper governance, you cannot be agile. And in terms of what are the top governance challenges in 2025, uh, a major issue is on the manufacturing side. There is a lot of operations technology which is coming to picture, and with the advent of Internet of Things, it is becoming very challenging for enterprises to manage that. There is no, I mean, even when it comes to IoT, the I mean, the market has not yet evolved to a lot of common platforms and a common protocols as far as the OT space is concerned. And as a result, you have to deal with multiple technologies, and you have to deal with patching them and controlling what basically gets in and what basically goes out. There is a lack of visibility because of the industrial Internet of Things, and that is a major challenge for all of manufacturing sector. And with a lot of companies continuously speaking about going to Industry 4.0, which primarily relies on the new age operations tech, it's a very big challenge for these companies. So it's very difficult to choose between the threat and the benefit that OT offers, right? And the threat basically can make a manufacturing plant, sleep for at least weeks, if not months together. And of course, we just spoke about different kind of challenges that AI poses, and these two then have interdependency to different legal, regulatory, and compliance related requirements. So obviously, with these combined, it's going to be a nightmare, or many organizations are already facing these challenges. And add to this the people shortage in the industry. So these are a top challenges which, from an information security governance perspective, that you have to face. So when you are defining roles and responsibilities, when you're preparing a proper structure at an enterprise level, these are the things that you would start seeing that, okay, which are missing, These are the skills which are missing when you are, as part of your information security governance framework, if you are enforcing the information security management to prepare a skill matrix, then you would find that there is a lot of shortage of skill sets, right? Either you are getting not so skilled people if you are trying to outsource or offshore, the work, or there are no people at all for a few types of issues or few types of responsibilities, right? Another frequently asked question is around measurement when it comes to effectiveness of governance. Uh, so there are three elements: critical success factors, key goal indicators, and KPIs. If you have to look at it more from a KPI perspective, few KPIs we have mentioned here: incident detection rate, uh, compliance audit pass rate, employee training completion, etc. The goal is to make sure that you have the right kind of metrics. You are not over measuring and over communicating. I mean, to even generate metrics, also it takes time and money and effort and tech sometimes. So you have to use all of these judiciously and make sure that you are not moving away from providing value delivery and not moving away from using resources optimally, right? So that's one of the areas that you will have to focus. And if you get the right kind of metrics in place, then it is giving the right information in a timely fashion. So it's a methodology called SMART. I'm sure most of you would have heard about this, right? Metrics, when it comes to metrics, people speak about SMART metrics. Even when you go through isaca's uh, review manuals with respect to CISM, you'd find the same methodology mentioned there: specific, measurable, achievable, okay, realistic, and time bound. So this is what smart is, and of course both A and R, there can be multiple attributes to it. R could be repeatable, right? R could be relatable as well. But you have to make sure that the metrics that you are designing are smart in nature, so that it helps the business. The more clear the picture is with the help of these metrics that you're giving to the management, the better it is for you, and the better it is for the management, right? And finally, with respect to the fourth question, in terms of frequently asked question, is around third-party governance. So there are a lot of TPRM based. I mean, TPRM is one of the most uh, focused area in the last couple of years when it comes to risk management. Vendor risk is one of the primary, most focused risks, at least in the last 4 or 5 years. So make sure that there are dedicated resources and dedicated teams within the enterprise as much as possible, as much as it is permitted, given, of course, the size of your organization. Make sure there is a proper methodology for vendor risk assessment that is there, and ensure that your security contract, I mean, ensure that your contracts have security clauses with respect to inspection, with respect to audit, okay, if possible, and inclusion of third-party audits conducted, like it's your vendor, but then if you really want to use, because you do not have so many resources, you don't want to have so many resources, you could always outsource audit. So somebody else is actually auditing for you. Let's say you're using one of the big fours to audit one of your vendors, right? It could be that scenario. However, it's not straight away possible unless and until you have it as part of the contract, right? Uh, Maybe you have audit as a point within your contract. The vendor can come back and say that this doesn't explicitly say that your another vendor is coming and auditing. Maybe you're not comfortable with that. Okay, so make sure these things are involved, are included as part of your contracts, the security clauses. So I just wanted to be very quick here in terms of our I mean, this is for those folks who are not CISM already. If you are interested, then number one, we are an isaca training premium training partner. Our trainers are having a lot of experience, and our curriculum is uh, basically, of course, it covers all the CISM domains, but then uh, it is more of making sure that we give a lot of real time, real world examples, right? While uh, making sure that the format is flexible. We both offer online and in person training programs. Um, there are dedicated Telegram groups, so it's much more holistic than uh, the generally available CISM trainings out there. You could definitely go through the InfoSec Trains CISM training program and the related content on our website as well.